Lesson 2-6, Adding Decimals. Your learning goal for this topic is to add and subtract decimals to hundredths and explain reasoning used. There are bullets for this learning goal that you need to make sure that you include in your writing. The first one is to use the decimal to line up numbers vertically before adding or subtracting. We've done a lot of talk about this, and it's important that you keep your decimals lined up along with each place value in the same place value column that it needs to be in. Regroup or carry when needed, and use the opposite operation to check your addition or subtraction. Vocabulary. You will need to write this down as well. Your first vocabulary word is sum. Sum is the answer to an addition problem. Your second vocabulary word is add-in. The add-in is a number or quantity to be added to another. For example, if you have 3 plus 2, your answer 5 is called the sum. Your add-in is the 2 because that is the number to be added to the other one, which is 3. Push pause and make sure you write these words down. Push play when you're ready to begin. There are certain strategies for adding decimals. You don't need to write these down, but please just listen closely. Your first strategy is to line up the decimals vertically before adding. Remember the invisible decimal that lives after the ones place, to the right of the number. Sometimes I like to say, to think to, if you have a number like 32 and you need to add that to a decimal, kind of think of money. So if it's $32, you know your decimal has to be there. And then always add the zeros to fill in the empty spaces. If a number has less digits, add a 0 to fill in the empty spots at the end of the number, just what I did up above. Check your work using the opposite operation, subtraction for addition or addition for subtraction. This next slide is just for me to kind of show you an example. So for example, if we were looking at the numbers, and I hope you can see this, 38 hundredths plus 1 2 tenths plus 1 345 thousandths. One of our first things was to line up the digits. So here we have 38 hundredths plus 1 2 tenths. And remember, we're going to fill in the empty spaces with zeros. Plus 1 345 thousandths. So I have an empty space here that I'm going to add a 0, and I have an empty space here that I'm going to add a 0. I'm now going to add all of these numbers together. 0 plus 0 is 5. 8 plus 4 is 12. 3 plus 1 is 4, plus 2, 6, plus 3 is 9. And 1 plus 1 is 2. So I've lined up my decimals. I've lined up each place value. I fill in the empty spaces with zeros, and then I've added them all together. As we look at the one that it talks about the invisible decimal, for example, just like I did earlier, if you have 32, I always think of money. It's easier for me to think of it that way. So here would be my decimal, and then I would add the zeros. That kind of touches base with all the main concepts for this topic. So adding decimal practice. We're going to go ahead and practice now. So write practice in your math journal and write number 1. Your first problem that you need to practice on is to find the sum. Now remember, sum is the answer to an addition problem. Find the sum of 64 23 hundredths plus 19 8 hundredths. Remember all of your place value rules. Line them up and down vertically. Keep each place value spot in the same location. Fill in the empty spaces with zeros. Go ahead and push pause and begin working out the problem. Push play when you're ready. Did you write 83 and 31 hundredths? If you did, great job. We're going to go over this problem. So we have 64 and 23 hundredths plus 19 and 8 hundredths. We're going to add them together. 8 plus 3 is 11. Carry your 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. Bring down your decimal. 9 plus 4 is 13. 6 plus 1 is 7, plus 1 is 8. So we have 83 and 31 hundredths, which was your answer. So good job. Your second practice problem is find the sum, which is the answer to an addition problem, of 328. Oh, so we're going to have to be thinking of where that decimal needs to go when we line it up to add. And 4 and 98 hundredths. So go ahead and push pause. And when you're ready to go on to see if you have the right answer, push play. Okay, so in your practice problem, you should have had 328. Now remember, your decimal, if you were to think of money, $328 would need to go there. I'm going to add 2 zeros. That decimal keeps going away. Plus 4 and 98 hundredths. And we're going to add. Our decimals are lined up. Each place value is lined up. So then 0 plus 8 is 8. 9 plus 0 is 9. Bring down my decimal. 8 plus 4 is 12. 2 plus 1 is 3. And then I'm going to bring down my 3. So if you have 332 and 98 hundredths, you are correct. So good job. Our next practice problem is to find the sum, the answer to an addition problem, of 6,408 and 2 tenths plus 237 and 908 thousandths. So go ahead and push pause and solve this problem and push play when you're ready to go over your answer. So when you guys wrote your problem, you needed to make sure you kept your place values lined up. And so we have our place values lined up. We have our decimals lined up. If you've noticed, one of the things we need to do is we need to fill in the empty spaces with zeros on this one. Then we can go ahead and begin adding. 0 plus 8 is 8. 0 plus 0 is 0. 9 plus 2, 9, 10, 11. Carry your 1. 8 plus 1 is 9, plus 7, 11, 12, 13, 16. Carry your 1. 3 plus 1 is 4. 4, 5, 6. And bring down your 6. So 6,646 and 108 thousandths. Yay! So we got the right answer. Next is challenge yourself. So write challenge yourself in your math journal, or just challenge, and go ahead and solve this problem. We will check the answer when you return to school tomorrow. And the problem is, Sophie buys her mother a bunch of flowers for $12.95. Each of her 2 brothers, that's important. So Sophie buys her mother a bunch of flowers for $12.95. Each of her 2 brothers a candy bar that costs $1.78. Now remember, she bought each of her 2 brothers a candy bar. A lip gloss for herself for $4.99. If she has $6.68 left in her wallet, how much did she start with? Tomorrow, she will babysit her brothers for 5 hours, so the problem still goes. Her mom will pay her $5.50 per hour to babysit. Per hour. How much money will she have after she works tomorrow? Remember to show all your work. So do your best on this problem and bring it to school tomorrow and we'll check your answer. For finishing up,